Hey guys, so Dave at DC Swimbaits has a couple new models out. This is the 12-inch unslotted debut, and this is the 10-inch unslotted debut. Okay, so he's had the slotted versions. You can use the BKK hooks that Dave likes, but these are the unslotted ones. So obviously they don't have a chamber for that beast style hook, or for the BKK hook, the weedless hook. And I've kind of, I like made a little Euro rig style harness for them. And now that I've caught a couple of fish on them, I'm going to make a video showing how I do it. So this is the 10-inch, this is 12-inch. Here are the harnesses. So pretty sleek. And like I said, I've landed a fish on this and, a musky on this and two on the 10-inch, and the harness held up just fine. So I figured I would make a video showing exactly how to do it, just for, you know, because it's not the most intuitive thing in the world, building a Euro rig harness for the first time. So things you're gonna need, so like these screw lock jig heads, okay, like this one. This is a 2-ounce screw lock jig head. There's a couple different companies that make these. Like I said, pretty popular. They're Euro rig style, so a lot of the there's quite a few like European pike fishermen and those kind of companies that make these. This one specifically is from Saddle Tramp, and this is what I've been using. It works great. And then you're just gonna need a couple of split rings. I double up on them, so like on this 12-inch, so there's a couple of split rings there. And then this is the trickier part. These are the longest screw locks I could possibly find, and you're gonna need some of these, okay? So these are from Hangia. They're like 2-inch, 2.5-inch screw locks, pretty much the longest ones I could find. And these are gonna be pretty essential in making this harness. And the last thing you're gonna need is, I'm using 218-pound tooth-proof wire, and like I said, this is another essential part, especially for these muskies. And then so I'll just kind of go step by step through how I'm rigging this. First thing I like to do, this is not mandatory, but I don't know if you can see it on this bait. So as they come, it's just this solid front piece. And what I like to do is I just recess this a little bit, just so that screw lock jig head fits in there a little bit better. So what I'll do is I'll literally just take a knife and cut exactly, it fits perfectly exactly where Dave's left his kind of pour mark from. I'll just cut into kind of where he poured, make a little circle just to recess that screw lock jig head slightly. I guess it kind of builds that foundation for the harness. So I cut around that, poke that off, and now that jig head, instead of, you know, being completely, instead of just abutting the nose of the bait, that'll kind of recess and fit in there slightly now. And then all you do is, now Dave's hard head, this thing's never coming out. Like his hard plastic that he keeps in the head, this is going to be, and obviously that's a very heavy duty screw lock. So I'm just going to center it and then screw it into the bait, just like that. And this gets pretty difficult once you get enough of it in there. You might have to muscle it a little bit. And I just kind of screw it until it's super tight into the bait, just like that. Okay, I might actually get another half turn if I can. Yeah, I can. Okay. All right, so there we go. Got that whole screw lock jig head centered nicely into that bait, and that's kind of the foundation for that harness, okay? And the next thing you're gonna do is take these long screw locks, All right, and I put one at the chin here. So just center it into the chin. Okay, and just screw it in. Nothing too fancy here. Now these are, I actually have not had this harness pull out. So I've caught 3 fish, 3 muskies with this harness and have not had one pull out yet. Now it will, you catch a big enough fish and there's enough torque there. It absolutely can pull out, but I haven't had to yet. I have a feeling these screw eyes will bend out well before. So I just kind of bury that screw eye in there. Okay, so yeah, and that's, like I said, that's a 2.5 inch screw lock. So that's pretty in there. That is it's very tough to pull out. All right, so it's kind of like a modified internal harness. And then I take the other one, and that's going to go by the, the anal fin of the bait, basically. Okay, so all the way back here, and just screw that in. And obviously, I'm not gonna put hooks on this today, just because I have a couple that I have already been fishing, so I don't need to. But then you set up your preferred hooks, and I've been experimenting with the BKK hooks recently, so I just put on those BKK, I think they're like S21 or something like that, treble hooks. And those have landed me a couple of fish so far. So, all right, and there's that second one, kind of like I said, just in front of the anal fin of the bait there. So that's what it's looking like so far. Okay, and then this is where now. So as you can kind of see how we have this so far, so that you have the screw lock ball jig, and then you have the 2 attachment points for the hooks. Now, this is going to be something that, so far this is very easy, something else swimbaiters have done probably. But now we're going to get into let me put these split rings on quick too. We'll now be getting into kind of the portion that not a lot of you guys have maybe done. This is the wire twisting portion. And I've always just kind of done it with the pliers. You don't need any, professional wire twisting setup to accomplish what I'm about to do. So all you need is a nice pliers, like this one I'm doing, this one I'm using, excuse me. And this will work just fine if I can stop struggling to put on a split ring. Okay, so there, got the split rings installed there. Okay, now we're gonna take the tooth-proof wire and now this first segment, just, I don't know, you only probably need you don't need much. I'd cut off maybe 4 or 5 inches of wire. Okay, and then all you do for this first part is just take the tooth-proof wire, okay, bend it over the pliers once so that you're making a little loop like this. Okay, I don't know if you can see that well, okay. That little loop around the pliers, okay. Then take that little loop and place it on the bottom part of this screw lock jig head, just like that. Okay, then only once it's on there, you can wrap the wire around itself. So so I put the loop onto the jig head, and then I'm just gonna do a few wraps of the wire around itself here. Okay, I always do 3. I mean, you could do more, you could do less, but 3 works just fine. It's pretty strong stuff. So, and I just use my fingers. I mean, you could use another pliers if you don't have the, it hurts a little bit, but okay. And there's 3 wraps of wire around there. And cut off the excess wire. Okay, and you have the first part of your rig there, just a little wire, just a few wire twists around that first loop. Okay, and this is not the prettiest. If you wanted to get an actual professional wire twisting tool. That's one thing, but I've done this forever and it works just fine. So, okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to bring it down to that right where that first split ring is. Okay, right where that first split ring is, and I'll grab the plier, take the pliers, grab it at that first split ring. Okay, so like right there, and that's giving me my next twist. Okay, my next twist is going to be right at that first split ring. Okay, so I bent it kind of where that split ring is, and then you're going to do the whole thing here. I don't attach it right away. I'll just use the split ring to attach it. Okay, so do the loop, right, like that. Do that loop, and then you're just gonna, same thing, twist the wire around itself, just like this. Okay, and then I'll, like I said, just do another 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3, and cut off the excess. Okay, so now you have that first loop attaching to the screw ball or the screw lock head, and then I'm going to take the top split ring, right, not the one that I'm going to attach to the hook, but the top split ring, and just attach that split ring to that new loop in the tooth proof. Okay, so now I've nice and clean, okay, just twisted 2 loops of wire to that first split ring, and that's going to be that first piece of the harness. Now, obviously, I'm just doing this so, because I'm not going to just rely on screw locks and split rings to keep a hook fastened to the bait. This 200-pound tooth proof is super strong, and it's going to just be a continuation of that harness to make sure that even if that harness pulls out, that I'm landing that fish, right? Okay, and then all we're going to do now is build a second piece of wire from the first hook harness to the second hook harness, and then that's the whole harness. So, probably takes, without me explaining everything and talking a bunch, it probably takes me 5 minutes a harness, probably, maybe even a little bit less. All said and done. But it'll probably take you a little bit longer if it's your first time twisting wire and all that. Okay. Okay, now the second piece of this harness, I'll just do this, right? So same thing, loop around itself, make that first loop, and then you're just going to grab that loop, twist around a few times, however many times you want. I'd say at least 3, a couple more if you need to. Okay, twist, nice and easy, cut off the excess. All right, then I'm going to attach it to that same split ring. So that same split ring, that first, not the one the hook's hanging off of, but that first split ring that I have the other piece of wire attached to, I'll just attach that there. Okay. All right, so now that's attached. That's what we're looking like. Sorry. Okay, get that out of the way so you can see that. Both of these wires are attached to the same split ring, and then this split ring that's dangling is what's going to attach to the hook. Okay, and then I'll measure to that next split ring towards the anal fin and do my next loop there. Okay, so I bent where that measurement was. And then I'll do my wire bending process here. Get my loop, grab the loop, and twist. Okay, cut off the excess. And then the last thing that's to be done is attach this part to the base split ring on the other side. Okay. Boom. And that is the whole harness. Okay, just like that. So then you attach whatever hooks you want on top of that. Okay, and obviously line tie, and you're going to be attaching a leader there unless you're targeting bass with these things. But it's, you know, functionally this is like, you know, I've been saying to Dave, it's like kind of a shad style 10-inch mag draft or whatever in terms of for largemouth. It absolutely could be. Much more stable than a mag draft, that's for sure. And then musky wise, this is like, you know, there's a lot of musky rubbers that this is like comparable to, but you're not going to get a realistic of a finish. Or this hard head design is going to be, it's crazy durable. I mean, it's very, very cool bait. But then you have your, you know, just attach whatever hooks you want. Okay, so that's the harness. These are the 12 inches here. Okay, finished harness with the hooks there too. All right, nice and simple, cheap to do. And like I said, I've landed a few fish on there, so it works great. Okay, and I'll show you the 10-inch one last time as well. Okay, so that's the blank bait. That's the finished harness on the 10-inch. All right, and Dave, I'm sure Dave will have links for all this stuff that I'm using on the website. I just wanted to make a video showing you guys exactly the whole process that I go through. Okay. All right. Any questions? I'll do my best to answer them, or Dave will answer them as well, because I've shown Dave what I was doing with this as well. Okay. All right. Good luck out there, boys.